chapter 9, developing psychological skills. As you have already studied in the previous class, psychology begins as an application-oriented discipline. Psychological testing stands as a prime example of psychology in action. Psychology touches on many questions related to our lives. For example, what kind of personality makeup is required to become a successful human being? Or what would be the right vocation for a student studying in 12th standard? Similarly, there are other questions and curiosities about human beings which psychologists are asked to answer. Psychology has two kinds of application related images. First as a service oriented discipline and second as a scientific method driven research method. In this chapter, we will study the qualities of an effective psychologist as well as counseling skills. Developing as an effective psychologist. Most people think that they are some kind of psychologist. We at times talk about intelligence, inferiority complex, identity crisis, mental blocks and attitudes, stress, communication barriers and so many other terms. Generally, people pick up such terms from popular writings and media. There are a lot of common sense notions about human behavior that one develops in the course of their lives. जनरली हमारे पेरेंट्स एल्डर्स सभी किसी न किसी रूप में हमें समझाते रहते हैं या फिर हमारी काउंसलिंग करते रहते हैं. बट जनरल काउंसलिंग इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम अ साइंटिफिक काउंसलिंग by a psychologist. A professional psychologist addresses the problem of the scientific level. They take their problems to the laboratory or study it in field setting to answer various problems. He tries to find the answer in terms of mathematical probability. Only then he arrives at psychological principles or laws that can be depended upon. The basic skills or competencies which psychologists have identified for becoming an effective psychologist fall into three broad sections. The first is general skills. These skills are generic in nature and are needed by all psychologists irrespective of their field of specialization. These skills are essential for all professional psychologists, whether they are working in the field of clinical and health psychology, industrial, organizational, social, educational or in environmental setting, or are acting as a consultant. These skills include personal as well as intellectual skills like cognitive skill, ability to solve problems, having curiosity and flexibility. Cognitive skills are the core skills your brain uses to think, read, learn, remember, reason and pay attention. Affective skills: openness to idea, agreeableness, honesty. Affective skills relate to behaviors and attitudes that a person needs to learn in order to be effective in their personal and professional lives. Expressive skills: ability to communicate in verbal and non-verbal form. Expressive skills can be defined as the skills necessary to form thoughts and expressions, them using appropriate word. This may also include gesturing and facial expressions. The next is reflective skills. Intrapersonal intelligence, ability to examine own motives, attitude and behavior. Reflective skill is like holding up a mirror, repeating to the client's words back to them exactly as they said them. Personal skills: personal hygiene, time management. For being a counselor or psychologist, it is necessary that he or she should be a balanced, organized personality. अगर काउंसलर या साइकोलॉजिस्ट खुद ही मैनेज नहीं है तो वो दूसरों को क्या काउंसिल करेगा? अगर हम खुद ही मेंटली डिस्टर्ब रहेंगे देन क्लाइंट्स को कैसे स्ट्रेस फ्री कर सकते हैं? एक काउंसलर को काम एंड पंक्चुअल होना बहुत ज़रूरी है. Motivational skills: a great deal of what psychologists as researchers and practitioners do in the field is to pay attention, watch and listen carefully. They use all in the senses, noticing what is seen, heard, smelled, tasted or touched. A psychologist thus is like an instrument that absorbs all sources of information from the environment. Dear students, we have studied in 11th class about observation. We will therefore focus more on developing observational skills in this chapter. A psychologist engages in observing various facets of surroundings, including people and varying events. A psychologist records such details because something of significance may be revealed in the process of observation. Now, the major approaches of observational skills. First is naturalistic observation. It is one of the primary ways of learning about the way people behave in a given setting. In this type of observation, subject is observed in its natural habitat without any manipulation by the observer. Suppose you want to learn how people behave in response to a heavy discount provided by a company while visiting a shopping mall. For this, you could visit the shopping mall where the discounted items are showcased and systematically observe what people do and say before and after the purchases have been made. Now come to the another approach of observational skills, participant observation. Participant observation is a qualitative research method in which the researcher not only observes the research participants but also actively engages in the activities of the research participants. Suppose you want to learn how people behave in response to a heavy discount provided by a company. Then an observer may take a part-time job in a shopping mall to become an insider in order to observe variations in the behavior of customers. This technique is widely used by anthropologists whose objective is to gain a first-hand perspective of a system from within which otherwise may not be readily available to an outsider. Steps while making an observation. First, observe patiently. An observer should be patient while observing the client, because if someone has patience, then he may be able to stay calm and not get annoyed. The second is pay close attention to your physical surroundings: who, what, when, where and how. An observer should be alert towards his physical surrounding while observing others. The third is be aware of people's reactions, emotions and motivations. A psychologist should be aware about clients' emotion and motivation. मीन उसे इस बात का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि हर पर्सन में अलग अलग इमोशंस अलग अलग लेवल्स पर पाए जाते हैं. सो ऑब्जर्व करते समय हमें जजमेंटल नहीं होना चाहिए. फोर्थ, ask questions that can be answered while observing. An observer should ask some questions at the time of observation. Fifth, observe with an optimistic curiosity. An observer should have the quality of an optimist, because साइकोलॉजिस्ट और काउंसलर के पास लोग अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स को लेकर आते हैं. अगर हम वहाँ खुद ही निगेटिव जोन में हो तो क्लाइंट कैसे सर्वाइव कर पाएगा. Whatever the situation, it doesn't matter, but an observer should be optimistic. The last is be ethical. You have to respect privacy, norms of people you are observing. Take care not to disclose any information. An observer should have moral principles. उसे सब्जेक्ट या क्लाइंट रिलेटेड डाटा किसी के साथ भी शेयर नहीं करना चाहिए. Now come to the advantages and disadvantages of observation. The first is its major advantages is that it allows behavior to be seen and studied in its natural setting. Second, people from outside or those already working in a setting can be trained to use it. The third, one disadvantage of it is that events being observed are subject to bias due to the feeling of the people involved as well as of the observers. Now we will talk about the specific skills. These skills are basic to the field of psychological service. For example, psychologists working in clinical setting need to be trained in various techniques in therapeutic interventions, psychological assessment and counseling. Similarly, organizational psychologists working in the organizational context need to have skills in assessment, facilitation and consultation, behavioral skills to bring out individuals, though specific skills are required for a very specialized professional functioning. Now the classification of specific skill. First is communication skill. In this skill, speaking, active listening, body language or non-verbal skills. The second is psychological testing skills. The third is interviewing skills. The fourth, counseling skills, in which empathy, positive regard and authenticity. Now come to the communication skills. It is one of the most important skill you will need to succeed in life. Your success in this class may well depend on your ability to communicate. For example, to do well, you should be able to ask and answer questions, summarize opinions and interact fruitfully with your teachers as well as your peers. Communication is a conscious or unconscious, intentional or unintentional process in which feelings and ideas are expressed as verbal or non-verbal messages that are sent, received and comprehended. We can understand it in this manner, like definition is saying that communication is conscious, unconscious. Conscious mean जब हम बहुत सोच समझ कर बोलते हैं, अनकॉन्शियस बहुत बार मुंह से ऐसी बातें निकल जाती हैं जो हम बोलना नहीं चाहते पर बोल जाते हैं. इंटेंशनल, व्हेन वी नो व्हाट वी वांट टू एक्सप्रेस. अनइंटेंशनल, जब हम कहते कुछ हैं पर उसका फीडबैक कुछ और आता है. सो ऑल वर्बल और नॉन वर्बल messages that are sent or received and understood called communication. Now we will take the levels of communication. The first is intrapersonal communication. The second, interpersonal communication. The third is public communication. The first, intrapersonal communication, involves communicating with yourself. It encompasses such activities as thought processes, personal decision making and focusing on self. The second, interpersonal communication, refers to the communication that takes place between two or more persons who establish a communicative relationship. Forms of interpersonal communication includes face-to-face or mediated conversations, interviews and small group discussions. The third, public communication, is characterized by a speaker sending a message to an audience. It may be direct, such as face-to-face messages delivered by the speaker to an audience, or indirect, such as message relayed over radio or television. Now we will read about the characteristics of communication. Dynamic. Communication is a dynamic process because the process is constantly in a state of change. As the expectations, attitudes, feelings and emotions of the persons who are communicating change, the nature of their communication also changed. Continuous. Communication is continuous because it never stops. Whether we are asleep or awake, we are always processing ideas or thoughts. Our brain remains active. The third is irreversible. It is irreversible because once we send a message, we cannot take it back. Once we have made a slip of tongue, given a meaningful glance, or engaged in an emotional outburst, we cannot erase it. The fourth is interactive. It is interactive because we are constantly in contact with other people and with ourselves. Others react to our speech and actions, and we react to our own speech and actions and then react to those reactions. Thus, a cycle of actions and reaction is the basis of our communication. Here are the components of human communication. The communication process involves understanding, sharing and meaning, and it consists so many elements like speaking. One important component of communication is speaking with the use of language. To be effective, a communicator must know how to use language appropriately because language is a symbolic. It is necessary to be as clear and precise as possible when using words. The second, listening. Listening is an important skill that we use daily. Your academic success, employment achievement, and personal happiness to a large extent depend upon your ability to listen effectively. At first, listening may appear to you as a passive behavior as it involves silence, but this image of passivity is far from true. Listening requires a person to be attentive. He or she should be patient, non-judgmental, and yet have the capacity to analyze and respond. Third, reception. The initial step in the listening process is the reception of a stimulus or message. A message could be auditory and or visual. The hearing process is based on a complex set of physical interactions that take place involving the ear and the brain. The fourth, attention. Once the stimulus is received, it reaches the attention stage of the human processing system. In this phase, the other stimuli recede so that we can concentrate on specific words or visual symbols. Consider you are watching a movie. The person in front of you is constantly whispering to his friend. There is a buzz in the sound system. Divided attention makes it difficult for you to receive signals or messages. The next is paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is an effective form of verbal feedback to use when listening. It allows you to understand how much a person understood of what was communicated. Assignment of meaning. The process of putting the stimulus we have received into some predetermined category develops as we acquire language. We develop mental categories for interpreting the message we receive. For example, our categorizing system for the word cheese may include such factors as a dairy product, its peculiar taste and color, all of which help us to relate the word cheese to the sense in which it is used. The last is body language. Body language is composed of all those messages that people exchange beside words.